Hi, welcome to the Craft Channel. My name's Corinne Brad and I'd like to show you today how to make some quick landscape Christmas baubles out of felt for your decorations this year. And this is a great project to use up all those scraps of felt that you can't bear to throw away because they might come in handy. Well, they will come in handy. To start, what you need to do, and if you haven't got one you can manage without it, you can just cut circles from felt. But if you've got a die cutting machine and you've got some circular cut dies, if you cut yourself some circles of felt that are about 7-8 centimetres in diameter, because you'll need one for a background and you'll need one for the back of the bauble, or alternatively what you can do if you want double-sided baubles is just make two landscapes and sew them back to back. And then when you've got odd bits of felt, what you can do is you can cut sections of circles, because it doesn't matter if you haven't got the top bit, because you're going to create a landscape. Let's just say we'll have a navy blue sky here. Ooh. And we'll cut some trees to make the background of your bauble. So with this section of circular felt, if you just cut some zigzags, and just cheat with a little bit of a dry glue stick. This is just to hold it in place while you sew it. Line up your bottom circular edge like that. I've just noticed that that pine tree there isn't quite as sharp as it could be. So you've got your pine tree, and then we'll have some rolling hills, perhaps in the foreground here. Judge it against that. I prefer it like that. Again, just lightly tack it in place with a bit of glue. And then we'll have a snow-covered hill. Let's just make that a little bit smaller for the very foreground. Yeah. Oh. So there you've got a very, very simple landscape. And then all you need to do is take 2 strands of embroidery thread, and you don't need pins with this because you have glued it in place, and begin sewing your felt pieces to the background of your bauble with a small running stitch. And you can add detailing to this as you go along. Ideally you want to make sure that you go through all your layers. I mean, there's 4 layers of felt here, but it does give a really nice, almost quilted effect. You see, I'm going off the edge there because what I want to create is the impression of a rolling landscape. Okay. It's just going to go right off the edge of the bauble. And then sew another line up here. You see, in an ideal situation you could speed your running stitch up by doing your 2 stitches at once, just by bending the needle back up, but because this felt is so thick you can't possibly get it in close enough to get a nice neat stitch. And it's actually the stitching on this that makes the bauble, because the shapes that you've cut out are so plain and simple. You want to make sure that you're stitching becomes the feature of it. So I'm not going to stitch this whole bauble. I just want to finish this landscape, or these front hills, and then just show you how you can add a bit of decoration to your trees. So you can, hold on, I'm going to use the same piece of thread. You would fasten this off and start a new one so it doesn't pull across the back, but you can create a trunk of a pine tree just by sewing back stitch up the centre of the tree. And then, I don't know if you can actually see this, because I've used a very close shade of thread, and I've deliberately used a close shade of thread against the felt, because I want it to coordinate. I don't want it to be a stark line, I just want it to be quite a subtle effect. Once you've created your trunk, just put diagonal lines from the edge of the tree to the trunk, like this. So there's a little fir tree, and that's like the one that I've done here. The other thing, if you've got some mini buttons, I mean, they're great fun, mini buttons. Oh, these are tiny, these are 5mm in diameter, I would say. You can just stitch them on in place of baubles on the Christmas tree. Let's find a blue one. And that does make a difference. If you use a brightly coloured button, especially if you've got all tonal colours, sometimes that bright button, like we have on this one here, that's the focal point, is the Christmas tree on there. So just be clever with your colour combinations. Just play around with them and see what you prefer, because you can just lay things out on your bauble before you stitch it down. You know, nothing's set in stone until you stitch it down. So that's a very simple way of creating your landscape. And then all you would do when you have finished it is get yourself another piece of plain felt, back it, and then you would simply stitch around, and I'd oversew stitch around the edge of it. And when you get to the top of your bauble, just incorporate a loop of ribbon so that you've got something to hang it up with. Stitch it all the way around. Before you finish, just put a little bit of fibre filling inside your bauble to pad it out lightly. I'm going to put that to one side. But you know, you can do all sorts of things. You can have sort of mountainous regions with swirling skies, simple pine trees with stars in the sky, or decorated Christmas trees. So I hope you enjoy these little landscape baubles. They're very easy to make, and you can use up all those scraps of felt that you didn't know what you could do with. See you next time. If you've been inspired to create, please share your makes with us in the comments section below. And if you've enjoyed videos by the Crafts channel, hit the like button. Want to see more of us? Then click subscribe. See you next time.